All right, good morning, everyone. Taylor Stuckert. It's wonderful to be back on the PopTech stage, as Letha mentioned, after a long hiatus. This was me back in 2009. I was a social innovation fellow, as Letha mentioned. And she mentioned yesterday about the vintages, '08, '09. I think Hyatt and I would both agree that '09 is definitely the best vintage of the program. The theme of that year's conference was America Reimagined. My slide was just the logo from that year's conference. And it's amazing to look back on 14 years to 2009 and all the things that really have changed in that period of time. And the ways in which we really are living in a reimagined America compared to what we were seeing in 2009. One of the things I was thinking about as I was preparing this was that I sat in the green room before I went out on stage, and I got some time to spend with a rising political star. He was the mayor of a small town, Braddock, Pennsylvania, a town of about 3,000 people. And knowing now that that mayor, and this guy was huge, he was nearly 7 foot tall, that he would go on to defeat a President Trump endorsed Dr. Oz, the guy from television, to become the next US Senator from the state of Pennsylvania would tell me that PopTech really was onto something with this Reimagined America theme. But one of the things, given all the things that have changed, I also think a lot about what hasn't changed. And here I am again on this stage to say that for us to successfully reimagine America of the future, we have to include the rural and legacy communities that so often get left behind. So when I was on this stage last time, I came to share a story about my hometown, Wilmington, Ohio. It's a town of 12,000 in the southwest portion of the state. And in 2008, Wilmington, Ohio lost its largest employer, the shipping company DHL, which announced that it was going to close its domestic hub in the US. This caused the loss of 10,000 jobs. And this was at the time considered the largest layoff in US history. And it put our county, Clinton County, a county of 42,000 people, on the map as ground zero of the Great Recession. We ended up actually being the most economically impacted county in the country through the Great Recession. But the story that my friend and co-presenter at the time and co-founder of Energize Clinton County, Mark Rimbert, and I shared wasn't just about how our community had had the proverbial rug pulled out from under it. It was more nuanced than that. We wanted to understand what were the conditions that led our community to be standing on that rug in the first place. And what were the lessons that we could learn from such an economic crisis that could benefit communities to help them avoid similar calamities in the future as we reimagined and rebuilt the 21st century American economy. So I had just returned home from serving in the Peace Corps in Bolivia in South America. And what I learned when I was in the Peace Corps was that an effective development strategy starts from the bottom up, not the top down. And it involves community immersion, that you need to learn the language of a place, you need to learn the culture of a place. And it really starts by building relationships and a foundation of trust for your work. But these powerful tactics and an effective development strategy, these tactics became most apparent to me, however, when I found myself back at home in the midst of a crisis and a newfound interest in serving my community. You see, I'm an 8th generation Clinton County. I have an exceptional command of our local language. I know our culture very well. I have generations worth of relationships that span far beyond the ones I've created myself. But this wasn't the most powerful asset I had in working in my home community. The most powerful asset actually came through the strengthened connection I had in my community through the commitment to serving my hometown when I returned. And so after 15 years of working exclusively at the local level in the nonprofit sector and local government, I just recently joined a nonprofit working at the national level, Lead for America. And Lead for America was founded, similar to my story, with a desire to serve the communities where the narrative of success is so often to leave and never return. In just the last 5 years, Lead for America has had over 300 full-time fellowships in 42 states, and those fellows have been able to procure over $145 million in grants for the communities that they're serving. And in 2021, we launched the American Connection Corps. The American Connection Corps was launched as the only national service program that's focused on serving rural and legacy communities. Our members serve a 1-year AmeriCorps service program focused on bridging the digital divide. And some of our members are working at the intersection of digital connectivity and our other program areas, which are community and economic development, agriculture and natural resources, and public health and social capital. The communities we serve are both demographically and geographically diverse, and our members reflect that diversity. So, as you can tell, we were founded during the pandemic. And during this tumultuous time, of course, the digital divide was on full display. Our program was able to launch because we had support from Land O'Lakes, who had corralled some of its partners through its American Connection project, including Tractor Supply Company, who we heard from yesterday, to help us launch this program. And in just 2 years, we've had 75 members serve. Those 75 members have been able to channel over $45 million in grants to the communities they're working in. They've connected over 2,000 households to broadband that were previously unserved, and they've enrolled nearly 7,000 households in the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is a federal subsidy that provides affordable access to broadband. But one of the things we've talked about a bunch here, and obviously saw on full display during the pandemic, is that we cannot advance economic prosperity in a 21st century America without addressing the digital divide. During the pandemic, if you lacked a digital connection, you also lacked a connection to jobs, to education, to healthcare, to community. You had social isolation. You lacked a connection to opportunities to advance your prosperity. And today, a lot of the conversation around broadband connectivity focuses on infrastructure. I took some photos before I came to this conference. Even in my small little town in rural Ohio, we're seeing blocks littered with boring machines that are installing fiber infrastructure. And it's a wonderful sight to see. We're even actually seeing fiber being installed in the places that have often been labeled as the last mile for infrastructure. And while there's been a ton of progress made and there's still quite a bit left to go, we know at the American Connection Corps that this is not really the last mile. Because as many households are for the first time now seeing a fiber line run in front of their home, what they're not always seeing is an affordable way to access that connection. There's not always the presence of devices or hardware that enables them to utilize that connection. And in many cases, even if there is a connection, there's not always an understanding of how to harness the power of all those tools to better their lives. And perhaps most importantly, as people are being inundated about all the ways that they can become connected and get access to broadband, they're not always sure who to trust. And so at the American Connection Corps, we prioritize sourcing our members from the communities that they call home, because we know that digital connection starts first with the connection between people and places. And for some of our members, it means different things. We have Felicia Elam, Fee, in Dayton, Ohio. She's been in Dayton for generations. And Fee understands the importance of digital connectivity to advancing technological skills, creating job opportunities, and prosperity, and investing in future generations. But for some of our members, like Zuzi Duffy, who's a naturalized citizen from Slovenia, she's called rural Maine home for just 5 years. Home and hometown means a lot of different things to different people, a lot of different experiences. It's not about duration, it's not about lineage. What we find to be most important is that our program gives our members an opportunity to strengthen their commitment to the places they call home through a service experience. And we've been very fortunate to have the philanthropic support that's needed to run a program like this. We've matched $2 for every $1 of AmeriCorps funding that we receive. And what this enables us to do is that we're able to offer our members a living expense stipend that's almost double the typical AmeriCorps program. We're able to offer them healthcare and childcare support while they're serving. We're able to offer them opportunities to get skills development, training, and travel. We take them to conferences where they can build their professional networks and continue to develop skills. And then, like all AmeriCorps programs, talking about completion, when they complete their service, they get an education award. And they can use that themselves, and in some cases, they can even pass that education award onto a child or a grandchild. And this is critical. And people often don't think about the barriers to service, but for us to truly empower members from all different backgrounds, we have to make service more accessible, not just available to those with privilege. The majority of our members are individuals of color. A quarter of our members are first-generation college students. And so we're growing. Just this year, we've more than doubled our footprint. We've gone from 12 states to 30 states. This year's cohort is 100 members, up from 50 last year. But we know this is just the beginning. We're barely scratching the surface. And we want to be in all 50 states. We want to continue to grow. And for this to happen for us, we have to continue to build community partnerships. We want to have our members have a greater presence where it's truly needed in places like Appalachia, the upper Midwest, the rural South, tribal communities. For this to work, we have to keep developing organizational partnerships. I've talked to some of you in the last 48 hours. There are tremendous organizations all over this country doing incredible work in rural and legacy communities. What we bring to the table is the opportunity to provide the capacity through an AmeriCorps experience from members who are living in their communities that maybe they just haven't connected with yet. And of course, funding the gap. Locally focused, nationally scaled work requires a financial commitment. In order for us to scale, we have to scale that commitment. But we've just in a couple years seen the incredible stories from our members. And what we've seen through their stories is that the amazing possibilities that emerge when you connect people through service to place. So let's connect. Thank you.